It's a wonderful evening, everyone. Welcome to Tonight with INJ. And for tonight, let's talk, reflect, and discuss about Enuma Elish. And to talk about it, I am with these amazing people who are currently studying at the University of the Cordilleras as third year BS Ed English students. They are our future educators, Mr. Somoba Jericho, Miss Gutierrez Erica, Miss Garcia Jari, Mr. Lee Ivan, and Mr. Giscon JV. And before anything else, let me introduce myself. My name is Arlene Abing, your host. Now let's listen to their opinions and ideas. So, Mr. Lee Ivan, can you tell us the background of the study in Numa Elish?
You for that mind-blowing introduction, Miss Arlena Bing, and again, I am Ivan Lee to discuss you moreover about the background of the story Enuma Elish. The Enuma Elish is a Babylonian epic poem from the late second millennium before Christ era, and it tells the story of how the universe came into being. It is a great struggle among the gods and the creation of the world and humanity. Take note of that. The Enuma Elish comes from the first two words of the poem, meaning, again, take note of this, I'll have to give an emphasis to this, when on high or when in the heights. The Enuma Elish comes from the Babylon, and the best text we have is written in the Akkadian language using cuneiform script on the seven tablets. Now, the poem was read as part of the ritual for the Akitu festival, which marked by the Babylonian New Year. The story of Enuma Elish has actually two basic parts. The first actually involves the cosmogony and the beginning of the universe, which means the beginning of the universe, rather, and a theogony, the birth of the gods. Now, the second part of the epic tells of the battle between the god Marduk and the chaos dragon Tiamat, and how Marduk became the king of the gods. The work ends with the construction of a city for Marduk, Babylon, and a temple for him called Esagilia, in the city, of course. Now, finally, Marduk is enthroned as the chief of God. All of the tablets containing the myth found at Ashur-Kish, Ashur-Banipal's library at Nineveh Sultanate, and other excavated sites date to 1200 BCE, but their colophons indicate that these are all copies of a much older version of the myth dating from long before the fall of Sumerian in 1750 before Christ era. Sorry for that physical noise around me that we have to normalize that rooster. As Marduk, let's move on again. Allow me to continue. As Marduk, the champion of the young gods in their war against Tiamat, is of Babylonian origin, the Sumerian Ea or Enki or Enlil is thought to have played the major role in the original version of the story. Now, the copy found at Ashur has the god Ashur in the main role, as was the custom of the cities of Mesopotamia. The god of each city was always considered the best and most powerful. Marduk, the god of Babylon, only figures as prominently as he does in the story because most of the copies found from the Babylonian scribes. And even so, Ea does still play an important part in the Babylonian version of the Enuma Elish by creating human beings. Again, that is the background of the story of Enuma Elish. I am Ivan Lee. Thank you very much for listening.
Very well said, Mr. Ivan Lee. Thank you for that. Okay, Miss Garcia, what do you think is the element of the story in Numa Elish? Can you tell us about the character, the setting, the theme, and the conflict of the story?
Okay, so good evening, everyone, and thank you for your wonderful introduction, Miss Arlene Abing. So now I'm going to present some of the elements of the story, which are characters, setting, theme, and conflict of the story in Noma Elish. Let's start from the characters. So we have Marduk, sometimes called Bel, Marduk is superior to all other gods. He has four all-perceiving eyes, four enormous ears, and lips that blaze forth fire. We have Chamat, one of the two primordial Mesopotamian gods. He is known as the Maker. As a deity, she is associated with water and with chaos. We also have Nudimud. Nudimud, more often called as Ea in the epic. Nudimud is superior to his forefathers, profound of understanding and strong at arms. We also have Apsu, one of the two primordial Mesopotamian gods, is known as the Begetter. We also have Kingu, is Tiamat's consort after Apsu's slaying. For his role in the battle, Kingu is later bound and killed. His blood used by Ea to create humanity. And last but not the least, we have Anshar. Anshar is the offspring of Apsu and Tiamat. He begets Anu, who begets Ea. So that is the characters of the story in Noma Elish. Now let's talk about the setting of the story. So, as one of the highlights of the Babylonian epic poetry, the Enoma Elish shines light on the religion and life of the Mesopotamian. It was written in Babylon in either 1800 or 1100 BCE, set in primordial times in the realm of the heavens. So that is the setting of the story. Now let's talk about the theme of the story. So in the Enoma Elish, the Babylonian creation epic, likely written in 2nd millennium BCE, the reader is quickly thrown into the midst of a community of gods, their identities hard to distinguish, and often of enmity with each other. Before long, the hero god Marduk emerges to subdue chaos and establish order among the gods, soon bringing into existence the recognizable forms of the heavens, the earth, and the rudiments of human civilization, the city and the religious cult center. Through this gradual emergence of order from chaos, the anonymous author argues for the divine origins of the world and humanity and the goodness of the ordered patterns of life and the Babylonian religion. So that is the theme of the story. And last, we have the conflict of the story. So the story involves many gods initially. The story largely concerns a great conflict between the parents, the god Apsu, and the goddess Chamat, and their children. In the decisive battle, the god Marduk defeats his mother Chamat to become the supreme god. Marduk then proceeds to create the world and humanity. So that is the element of the story Enoma Elish. Thank you.
What a great insight, Mr. Ivan Lee and Miss Jory Garcia. And I think that ends for our first segment with Tonight with INJ. Everyone, thank you all for watching. A blessed evening, everyone. Welcome to Huling Hirit. And for tonight's guest, we have Miss Gutierrez Erica, Mr. Sumaba Jericho, and Mr. Gascon JV. And again, I am your host, Arlene Abing. Now let's continue to talk, reflect, and discuss about Enuma Elish. So, Miss Erica Gutierrez, is Enuma Elish historical or structuralist?
Good evening, everyone. Thank you, Miss Arlene Abing, for welcoming us in this panel discussion. Yes, I think it is historical approach, and we chose that because this seeks to understand a literary work like Enuma Elish by investigating the social, cultural, and intellectual context. So, historical approach involves looking beyond the literature at the broader historical and cultural events occurring during the time the piece was written. So it is an understanding of the world the author lived in, like the events, ideologies, culture, and lifestyle. So it allows for a more comprehensive understanding of the work. So the features of historical approach would be careful study and analysis of data about past events. It is a critical investigation of events, their development, experience of past. So the goal of historical approach is to understand the text, meaning in its original context, and to answer questions about the text such as who wrote it or when was it written, what else is happening at the time of its writing, how did it come to be in the form we have it today, and what did it mean to the people who first read or heard it.
Indeed, correct, Miss Erica Gutierrez. It is historical. Now, to elaborate and explain more about the literary approach was used, we have here Mr. Jerica Sumaba and Mr. Gascon JV.
So good evening everyone. So in analyzing the story using historical approach, that is true that we use historical approach in the Enuma Elish because this is the appropriate approach on this story. Enuma Elish is a history of Babylonian epic poem. The Enuma Elish is the story of how universe came into being. As what they said earlier, it's a great struggle among gods and the creation of the world and humanity. So the Enama Elish, it is inspired in the biblical book of Genesis. In Genesis, the creation story spans a period of 6 days, within which all the elements were created, while the Enama Elish is set out over a similar period of 6 days, which are represented as 6 generations of God, and also it is written on a 7 tablets. According to Heidale, the main purpose of Enama Elish was to as a priest of Marduk, and was important in making the Babylonian godhead of the entire pantheon through his deeds in defeating Tiamat and in creation of the universe. So, to explain more briefly the Enama Elish using the historical approach, Enama Elish primarily recounts the horrific acts of the god's original family. Enama Elish were important manifestation of ancient people's view of life's meaning and purpose like the books of Genesis. It was so important in Babylon era because it was publicly recited every New Year's Day in the capital and it was their national legendary story. And that is my opinion in analyzing Enama Elish using historical approach. Thank you.
The historical approach. The historical approach involves the understanding the events and experiences surrounding the composition of the work, especially the life of the author, and using the findings to interpret that work of literature. In the story, Enuma and Elish are 7 tablets of creation. It narrates about the beginning of the cosmos, the birth of the gods, divine world which turns to war with each other, and the creation of humanity. In relation, this talks about the creation of the world, how was the earth and heavens were created, and notingly the story was made in the Mesopotamian region, which the 2 rivers Tigris and Euphrates are found. In this story, it tells us how the 2 rivers were formed and how the body of the oceanic god was used when it was split apart in the battle between Marduk and Tiamat. Also, how as humans were created was told in this piece, whereas humans were made in the god Mami who joined the chaos god, which was told that we are the associate of the gods in keeping peace and order in the earth. The story is strikingly similar to Genesis 1. So basically, in this historical approach on this story, this tells us how the heavens and earth was formed, how humans were formed, and how planets in the solar system are associated with the gods, how the world we live in was formed, and the role of purpose of us humans in earth.
You are indeed correct in the certain approach which is historical to analyze the story. Now, future educators, thank you for guesting tonight Thank you for giving and for sharing your insights that brings brightness about Enuma Elish. Again, I am your host, Arlene Abing, and thank you all for watching Huling Herit.